talk, because guess what? When girls talk, just about anything can happen. So I've got a resident therapist in the place, in this space with us today, and I'm excited. So today we're actually going to be talking about coping with grief or loss, um, stress, and struggling during the holiday season. Because as you know, during this pandemic, we have had a lot of death. We have had not only death, but we've had people losing jobs, losing homes, losing possessions. So sometimes the holidays make it a little more difficult to be able to deal with those things. And so we have decided to come on. Normally, my shows are about an hour long, but today we're going to go as long as we need to go. One of the things that I do want to make sure that I say, and I will be resetting throughout our discussion, if you are an individual who is dealing with some stress, that you're dealing with some things that are not necessarily allowing you to live your best life right now, you've got a therapist right here online. Put your questions in the comments. We're going to answer those questions live. But I'm going to stop talking here and I'm going to let Sharron introduce herself to our listening and our viewing audience.
Well, thank you once again for having me on, Michelle. I've been looking forward to this because I know that it's much needed. So I am Sharron Mason. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work with couples, I work with individuals, I work with families, dealing with a number of different things. So grief quite a bit. So regardless of what a person comes in saying that they are wanting to address, oftentimes we're going to be addressing some grief. So some loss, some transitions that for sure we're going to get into. I love working with families and couples because I also find that even if you've got a person and they're trying to work through some things on their own, it tends to go much better if we can get the whole family, get the couple involved. And so I love those dynamics, whether it's the couples, it's the family, but I love my individuals as well. So, with me being a person, I'm not just a therapist, I'm a person and I've had some loss myself. So, it's let's get into the conversation because if we can help one individual to make it through this holiday season a little bit more intact, then we've done our jobs. So, like Michelle said, put those questions in the box. Put those questions in the box. We're not charging you today. Put those questions in the box. Let us answer them for you. This is a no shame zone. So don't think that I've got a silly question or I should know this. No, that's not the case. No shame. Put your questions in the box and allow us to go into it and to answer those things that may be confusing or perplexing to you, maybe some struggles that the next person may say, oh, I'm not going to ask. So even with you asking your question, you're probably going to be helping a few people out. So let's talk.
And that's my whole thing with this. Before we jump into this conversation, I've got some great news, and you'll be hearing some more about this as the months come along and even into the new year. We have decided to rebrand the Girls Talk Real Talk podcast. And so our rebrand will literally kick off with a live show on January 27th of 2022, where we'll be at the Ujama bookstore, a part of Glanner House, multi community center type deal. I never get that right. But we're going to be there. And if you're not doing anything, we're going to start at 6 o'clock. So you can come on out and join us. We're going to have some award-winning literary artists that will be there, some authors that will be there. This will be your chance to do some Q&A, to be able to see what we do up close and personal. And we will actually be doing this at least once a quarter, if not more often, depending on how schedule allows, at various places, not just at Ujama, but at some other locations that become available to us. And so the new show will actually be called Real Talk with Michelle. And so with that, we are moving away from the podcast format into an actual show format, because we've been blessed. that our show has been picked up by a network. And so we will be kicking off going into the network in 2022 with our show. And so we'll definitely have more information to come, because you know what? God is good. And I'm going to tell you, if you stick to what it is that you are passionate about, even though right now it may not seem like the doors are opening, but if you show yourself faithful, the doors will begin to open for you in the right season. And it'll give you the opportunity to reach people that you never thought you'd be able to reach, and to do things that you thought were impossible for you to be able to do. So I wanted to throw that out there and let you guys know that even if you don't hear Girls Talk Real Talk, if you hear Real Talk with Michelle, it is just a new brand for the show. You'll still see the stiletto with the heel in the shape of a microphone. All of that, my coloring and everything will remain the same. It's just a name change, because we are moving from a podcast platform into an actual show platform to get us ready for the network that we'll be stepping into. So I'm excited about that. I'm really
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you. I have a lot of great things coming in 2022, that I've been mom's the word. I haven't said a word. My family and those closest to me know about it. But there's some things coming down the pike that I think people will be really excited about, and they can get on board. And trust me, if you know me and you know my testimony, I shouldn't be here today, and I should not be doing the things that I'm doing. But God is faithful, and He is just. And thank God that we don't look like what we've been through. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's get into the crust of the show. So most of you know that back in January, my brother passed away from complications of a very rare form of cancer. And although we knew that it was going to happen, just because you know it's going to happen does not mean that you're prepared when it happens. And I guess you're probably saying, well, Michelle, what do you mean? Well, this is what I mean. When my sister called me to let me know that he had passed away, she didn't even need to say it. I already knew. Matter of fact, I didn't want her to say it, because if she would have said it in that moment, then it would have been real.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not quite ready to deal with it. And so I was at work, and I work remotely. So I was at work, and before I could allow myself to step into that space, I had some things I had to clear up and to deal with and to shut down, so that I could step into that space and allow myself to grieve. Because everybody grieves differently.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got off work and let them know I'd be off for a few days, and I began to look at everything, that's when it hit me. When you stop, because we can keep ourselves busy. So when my daughter showed up first, and so then my oldest son called her and said, "What's Mama doing?" And she was like, "You know what Mama's doing? She's cleaning up, like her house is dirty or something. She's cleaning up because she needs something to do." When we grieve, we have to find something to put that energy into, whether it is journaling, whether it's talking to somebody, whether it's doing activities of some kind that are healthy, not them unhealthy activities. But you have to go through a process. And I'm telling you, I lost my brother in January 21st, to be exact. On March 4th, less than 2 months later, my niece passed away unexpectedly. She was 39 years old. So I'm still dealing with my brother, and now my niece passes away. And so it was kind of like, okay, guys, what's really going on? And so that just pulled the chair out and the rug out and everything up under the whole family, because my mother's grandkids were all kind of raised as siblings, because they were very, very close. And so not only did it hit us, but it hit them hard as well, because they're all in a line of that same age. So, you had 40, 40, 39, 38, 37. I think there's like a 34, a 33, a 25, and a 26 or 27. So you've got all of these ranges of ages that were all raised together. And so not only am I having to deal with my grief, so now I sometimes have to put my stuff on the back burner and deal with my children and their grief and what that looks like. So, Sharron, why don't I shared my story for us to have a baseline to be able to
Hmm.
pull from. But let's talk about what that looks like on a very real level for people. What actually does that look like when you don't give yourself permission to grieve?
Okay, you kind of hit on it. It's that I'm trying to fill in this space because I don't want to deal with it. Sometimes we say that I can't deal with it. That's kind of that thing that comes up. I can't deal with it. I can't go through it. And so I've got to fill the time. So I maybe just want to hang out with folks, and sometimes that's all these things I'm going to speak about at this point aren't necessarily bad things. But once it gets into the way of being able to actually work through the grief process, allowing myself to feel the feelings. So if I'm saying that I'm going to put all these things in the way, of course, I'm not saying it. These things are just taking place. I'm probably not even thinking about it. But I'm putting all these things in a way, not allowing myself to feel the emotions, then that can be extremely problematic because at some point I'm going to have to feel those things. I'm going to have to feel them. And so that's the sadness, it could be the anger, it could be the frustration, it could be the disappointment, all those different emotions. If I'm feeling that space and I'm not allowing myself to feel those emotions, I'm stuffing it, I'm distracting myself. At some point, it's going to come out, and it's probably going to come out in a way that is detrimental. So I have to give myself permission. One of the issues we run into is sometimes jobs don't allow you to do that. It's okay, this was a cousin, we're going to give you 2 days. This was a parent, okay, maybe we give you 5 days. It's probably more like that, 2 or 3 days. It's almost, we're going to give you this much time, this much space, and you have to be on. You can't have that time away in order to take care of yourself. And so you have to keep switching this thing off and on. And oftentimes, I'm going to need a little bit more time than 2 or 3 days. I'm going to need to have the opportunity to really feel all the things that I'm feeling. And it's not necessarily a time frame, but we say that you only get this time frame. So I'm probably drinking a little bit more than I normally would drink. I may be engaging in other activities, either to the extreme or quite a bit more than I normally would. I'm probably taking on company that I might not necessarily have entertained. If I wasn't in this space, I'm making decisions based out of probably emotions, but not necessarily in a healthy way. Not in a healthy way, but it may be the way that mama grieved. If this is what mama did when she was going through things, and she said, well, you cry in secret, you don't, nobody needs to see you cry. Or, you need to go on, wipe your face, act like you're okay. It's, but that's not even a normal place to be at because I'm not okay. So we're taught to be dishonest with our emotions. But guess what? Those emotions, they are going to show themselves in some type of way. I'm coming out, I'm going to manifest. And even if you don't give me permission. So it's best that we give ourselves permission to feel what it is that we're experiencing. Okay, I'm going to stop there because there's some other pieces too, but I'm going to stop there.
Well, I think it's important that people begin to understand that grief is a part of life. It's something that we
Absolutely.
all have to go through. People experience grief in the same way that we do breathing.
Natural.
It's a natural occurrence, because there's all every day, every second of every day, somebody somewhere has taken their last breath. So it's natural. I know, the holidays, I was good up until Thanksgiving. I would have my moments. I would, I would have those moments where thought was calm, and I'll let the thought come, and I would would celebrate the memory. I would shed any tears that I felt like I needed to shed, or I would laugh because a thought or a memory came up and it
Mhm.
would make me laugh, or whatever the case was. But the holidays for a lot of people is a trigger.
Yes.
And it's a trigger because you remember what that person was like when y'all got together for the holidays. So,
Mhm.
like, my brother loved Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, oh my God, he loved Thanksgiving. He loved the family coming together. He loved to eat. He loved potato salad. So my mother
Mhm.
every year would make him potatoes, a big old bowl of potato salad, knowing that wasn't nobody in that house eating that potato salad but my brother. And so when he left, he would take a big old bowl of potato salad home with him. And so when he passed away, that was the first memory that came
Mhm.
to me. Well, then right before Thanksgiving, Facebook has the memories that pop up. And I had a memory pop up of him. We were at my mother's house in Illinois for Thanksgiving. And, my family cooked. So we had this whole big old spread. My family loves German chocolate cake, apple
Mhm.
cake. So I think we had a German chocolate cake, an apple cake, a glazed lemon cake, sweet potato pie, chess pie, probably some other stuff too. And then we had all of the fixings. Your turkey, your dressing, your greens, your green beans, your bread, all of
Yeah.
it. Cranberry sauce, dressing, fried turkey, baked turkey, ham. So, we had the whole
Oh
fixings,
yeah.
right? So this particular video, and I shared it on Facebook when it popped up, and it was him talking about the food because his daughter didn't come, and she was trying to ask everybody to make her a plate, and we was like, "You not here, you don't eat." Said, "You not here, you don't eat." And so I'm doing the video, and you can hear me talking in the background. But he is going through talking about all of the food, and he's talking about
Mhm.
all of the desserts, and he's talking about all of this other stuff. And him and my sister Robin are doing what they're doing. And when it first came up, it made me laugh. But as I got to the end of the video, it reminded me that he's not here
Yeah.
and how much he loved Thanksgiving and the family coming together. And it just really broke my heart. And so my mom was here with me for this Thanksgiving, and I showed it to her. We both tearing up and all of that. And so when we got to my daughter's, because the family was coming together at my daughter's, his oldest son was there with the family, and I showed it to him, and we all had that moment. And then it was about the memories. So we had our moment of grieving individually and then collectively, but we didn't allow the grief to consume us.
Mhm.
And I think that is important, that people understand that you will grieve. And I say it like this: you either grieve or it will grieve you.
Mhm.
Those are the only two options. You will either grieve or it will grieve you. And so thinking about that, when we come together, what are some tips and tools that we can utilize as families who have lost loved ones during the pandemic? And let me clarify something. None of my people that passed away because of complications from the pandemic.
Right.
It was other stuff. So how do you begin to handle that in a healthy way when you know that you're going to miss this person because this may have been their favorite holiday? His was Thanksgiving and my niece's is Christmas. So,
Mm.
we're getting hit on both of the main holidays. So how do you handle that?
All right. So first of all, it's kind of like you spoke to giving yourself that space to grieve. And so I don't have to hold these tears in. I can let these tears go. I can let them flow. I can speak to all the emotions. Like I said, it could be the frustration. It could be, that I'm angry about something. It could be that I'm mad at God. Whatever it is, I don't have to act as if all is well because, in my heart, I mean, like you said, my heart was broke. In my heart, all wasn't well. Now, on a spiritual level, you might speak to, well, all was well. But different people were at different places. I have to honor where it is that I'm at rather than where another person may feel that I should be at. Yeah. Five people in a family, could all five be in five different places, and giving yourself space, permission to be where you're at, and then each and every other person space, permission to be where they're at. Honor those old traditions, extremely important. However, think in terms of, and we're also going to create new traditions. Sometimes we get so stuck in honoring old traditions that we don't leave space for creating new traditions. And then that can be problematic because absolutely this person, because I lost my grandmother not this past Thanksgiving, but on Thanksgiving Day last. Well, I guess the one before this last. And so, extremely, she was a cook. That's what she did when she was able, before she had gotten sick. And so, of course, here comes Thanksgiving. You're thinking about these things, but being able to honor, what these holidays meant, these things to the people who we've lost. So, holding on to traditions that are still able to serve us, letting go of some of the ones that no longer serve us, and creating new ones, giving it that space. Also, kind of having those conversations with one another. Sometimes we say that I'm going to hurt this person if I talk about this person. Sometimes the person is hurt because they feel that they can't talk about. So, having permission to be able to have conversations. This person was in my life. This person was extremely important. This person's love. So, having that permission to be able to have those conversations and to talk and to reminisce and all those types of things, sometimes that can be extremely healing. I find that families come together and they share bits and pieces because we have different aspects of this individual. Oh God. So you've got memories that this person over here didn't know about. You've got funny stories, and it allows others to be able to, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, tell me a little bit more about that. Okay, what was this piece here? To bring all this together and to be able to enjoy, honor this person that you've lost, this loved one, and to realize that yes, we're going to cry together, we're going to laugh together, the whole array of emotions. We can go through those, and we can continue to just love on one another. Sometimes it's a point where people become divided. It's like, oh goodness, that's unfortunate. But it's thinking in terms of how can we allow this to bring us closer together as a family rather than pulling us apart. That's the part that can be extremely difficult. And I see it quite a bit because people get kind of caught up in their emotions. And this person was my this, and they didn't mean as much to you as this. And it's like, oh, goodness, no, no. Give yourself an opportunity to tend to your emotions, but realize that the next person, they also have their emotions, their feelings, the things that they're going through as well, and to extend one another grace. I think sometimes we forget that piece of it. It's I'm going through, you need to be mindful, extend me some grace. Well, that thing goes both ways. And just as I'm going through, let me be mindful that the next person, and it may not, of course, only have to do with this loss. I'm talking to people, I'm seeing people as their therapists, and the numbers of different losses and things that are taking place. Have some persons that are grieving five, six, seven different things, sometimes different people that they've lost, and it's giving yourself permission to feel the feelings. And it may be this day that I'm in a space and I'm just trying to get out and I'm trying to have some fun, rather than saying, how are you out enjoying yourself? You don't miss such and such. So, no, I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to guilt you, realizing that everybody's process is different. And what is it that this person needs to do to make sure that they're okay?
I think that that's important. So let's talk, staying in this same vein, let's talk about those individuals that did not get the opportunity really to say goodbye. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. And although when my brother died in January, we had already been 9 months in the pandemic and they were loosening up some of the restrictions that they had put on everybody. But for those individuals that are now really grieving the people during the holidays that they never really got an opportunity to say goodbye to.
Okay, and that happens quite often. Of course, not just with the pandemic, but in life that happens, where I didn't have an opportunity, and what some people call is I wasn't able to have closure. So sometimes we have to create those opportunities, and it may not be what we would have wanted to take place. We're not always in control of that. And so it may be that I just have to have myself a ritual of what this thing is. Some people will write a letter. Some people will just talk and have a conversation. They feel that, okay, spirit, so let's have a conversation. For some people, I'm going to go to the graveside. So it's deciding what's going to help me, given that this did not transpire the way that maybe I saw it transpiring or the way that I wanted it to transpire, because it's not within my control. Okay, so how can I do what it is that is within my control to help me through this process? And I may have to grieve the fact that I was unable to say goodbye. I wasn't able to have what I saw as being closure. That may feel like a major loss, but it's okay. I can even grieve that and be able to identify all the emotions attached to that. All of the emotions attached just to that piece, I may have to walk through that. Okay. And then I process it. And then it may be another piece that I've got to grieve and process it. So it's layers to this thing. Yeah, it could be extremely complicated, but let me give myself an opportunity to walk through it. And that's probably a part of why I'm a therapist as well, because it's like, oh goodness, that sounds like work. Well, it's living, and living requires us to put some work in. So I may need somebody to come alongside me to help me through this process. If I find that this is overwhelming and I'm struggling to do it on my own, I may say, well, no, I need to actually reach out and find somebody to walk alongside me that can help me through the process.
Okay, I'm going to reset here because I still want to make sure that people know I'm putting different comments that we're making into the chat so that people will be able to see them. But if you have questions in regards to
Mm-hmm.
our topic today, and it is learning how to cope during the holidays after a great loss, whether it's grieving, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, the loss of a home, or whatever, and those that are struggling,
Mm-hmm.
as well as those that are dealing with a lot of stress and those that are dealing with depression of any kind during the holidays. How can we cope and make it safely through this holiday season without making a poor choice? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the key.
That
We
piece, yeah.
don't want to make a permanent decision for a
Yeah.
temporary situation.
Emotions, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
let me tell you, our emotions are real. And
Mm,
emotions are very painful. However, emotions lie.
yeah.
Okay? They lie because they will pick up on where you are in that moment and then make you believe that that's how you feel all the time because that's what you're dealing with in that moment. And so we have a question.
Mm,
So, why do people who take care of others don't allow themselves the opportunity to breathe and take care of themselves? Great question.
hi, Yana. Hi, Yana.
Great question, Yana.
Yes, yes, that is amazing. So there are so many. I'm going to touch on some aspects, but I think about if I was to have 10 people and this was the situation in which they found themselves, that each of those 10 people may have a different reason for why. So we have some people who this is it's an expectation that's been placed on them, and this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to care for others. If you do these things for yourself, you're coined as being this person who's selfish. So now somebody puts this label on you, and anytime that you do something for yourself, you're seen as selfish. Well, if I don't want to be seen as selfish and I want to be viewed in a certain regard, then I'm going to do this. So it could be guilt. Sometimes it's a matter of, I know I have all these things of my own that I need to deal with, but I don't want to deal with my stuff. It's easier for me to deal with this person's stuff and to care for them and to ignore my stuff. My stuff can be painful. It could be trauma that is involved. It can be so many aspects of why I do not want to deal with my stuff. It may be that I want to have the facade that everything's okay and everything is fine, when in fact, everything isn't. And so when I'm caring for other people, that may make me feel just really good. It can be for some almost that high. I get a high from caring from other people. Also, everyone's telling me how wonderful I am. So once again, it's giving me a high. It's filling me up in certain ways. And when I start taking care of myself, addressing myself, I don't get that same feeling. So it can be a wide range of reasons. And so I would go back, go back, go back. When did I first get that indication or that feeling or that thought that I should? Sometimes we have to look at, well, where did the should come from? It's like, oh, well, I was 7 years old and mama said I should be looking after my siblings. I'm seven, and the siblings of this age. And then every time I said I want to go outside and play, oh, you naughty girl, you bad girl, you should want to help out mama. And then it's like, oh, and then I do these things and then mama gives me a piece of chocolate. And then, so when I'm supposedly selfless, I'm rewarded. When I'm doing this thing that is regarded as being selfish, then I'm reprimanded. So it could be so many ways in which this thing is fed into, but it's really deciding that I want to give myself permission to put myself on the front burner and addressing what are those emotions that come up when I do that. I'm all about self care and self love. All about it. All about it. I'm going to make sure I take care of myself. So, try to eat a little bit better, try to exercise, try to get out, have fun, and having that balance. But if I find that I can't, then really looking at why is it that I struggle with this thing here. I was the only, I said the only, where that come from? Um, Oldest. I am the oldest and only girl. And so in my mind, it was about being so responsible. I saw that as being amazing. So here I am wanting to be this superwoman. It's like, oh, how in the world are you so overly responsible? But it was rewarded and it was seen as great. So who am I if I'm not this person? If I'm finding my worth in it, then I have to be really mindful, because when I strip that away, I might feel that my life doesn't have the same value and I'm worth less. So those are just some aspects, but you got to dig up underneath that. It's probably not something that's surfacey. It's probably something a little bit deeper as to why I'm putting myself on the back burner and I'm not taking, care of myself the way that I should and taking care of everybody else.
Yeah, Yana says, OMG, that's good. I never thought of it that way, especially when they have a controlling personality. Definitely, because even y'all are the oldest, I'm the youngest.
She's a
So I'm the
baby.
baby girl. I'm the last, as they say, of the litter. I'm it.
Oh gosh.
No more after me. So even in that, the relationship that we have with each of our family members plays a huge role in how we handle ourselves as we're going through this.
Yeah.
When my father passed away over 30 years ago, my mother did something that she thought was helping me.
Hmm.
So everybody but me was allowed to go to the hospital.
Hmm.
And so I was told to stay home to be with the kids. And I held that against her for years because everybody else got their closure and I didn't.
Hmm.
They were able to say goodbye in their own way and I didn't. And so I think sometimes when we try to do what we think is best for someone else, it doesn't give that person what it is that they need to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And, even though I've resolved that within myself, and I never really voiced it to my mother until many, many years later. But I realized that it impacted our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you don't want to do, because it's like what you said before. Each of us have to have the permission in order to grieve how we need to grieve, to get closure how we need to get closure. And it doesn't look the same for everybody.
No.
And
Mm-mm.
that is important, because just because you give me permission to grieve, if I don't give me permission to grieve, I'm going to be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to manifest itself in a way that's not only going to be detrimental to me, but detrimental to the person I vomit all of my emotions onto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you touching on some stuff there. As you were talking, the word that came up for me was strong. And we've got this thing about strong being a positive, and I really see this thing as being a negative, because strong says that no, I have to put on this face and to act like I'm okay. And then the thing about it also is we may put that expectation on the next person too. Oh, you're dealing with it this way, you're weak. And who wants to be considered weak? However, we
Right.
get to that word, we know that he's made our weaknesses is his strength. So it's not even a negative thing, but the way in which we regard it is negative. So we have to be mindful. Oh, I'm strong. I'm strong. How did that become such a positive connotation to that? Whereas you might be supposedly strong, but does that mean you're healthy? Yeah, some of
Well,
the.
let's go back a little bit. Let's really tap into that, because that plays a major role in what we're talking about. Because and I don't want anyone to take it out of context of what I say. What I getting ready to say, I'm saying exactly what I mean. I'm not implying anything. I'm going to say exactly what I mean.
Mhm.
If a white woman gets upset about something that goes on and expresses her dislike
Mhm.
and her dissatisfaction with what happened, then she is just venting,
Mhm.
getting it off her chest. However, if a black woman does the very same thing,
Mhm.
then we are seen as aggressive. We're
Angry black
seen
woman.
as the angry black woman. So how can I deal with my grief? And sometimes grief makes you angry. Let's just be real.
All the emotions.
Sometimes the emotion that comes with your grief is anger, because we trying to figure out why they have to die. Why do I have to live the rest of my life without them being here? Why, and so sometimes anger plays into that.
Mhm.
So understanding that, how do I find the right recipe, for lack of a better word,
That's
to
good.
be able to deal with my grief as it presents itself as anger without being seen as the angry black woman?
Whew. Okay, Miss Michelle.
I
So,
mean, I told you I was bringing it. I told
so,
you.
so here's the thing. Sometimes we can't help how we're perceived, and when we're trying to control how we're perceived, there lies the issue. Because if I'm trying to control how this person sees me and how this person sees me and how this person sees me, chances are I'm not going to be able to genuinely express myself and allow myself to go through my process. So that's one piece of it. But another piece of it is making sure that I'm surrounding myself with people who are supportive, that are giving me this space, who, let's say, if something takes place and it's seen as anger, they're going to have this understanding, or at least they're going to give me the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes we don't get the benefit of the doubt,
Hmm.
and what is seen as me being aggressive or me being angry, it's just that. Whereas if somebody knows me, knows what I'm going through, it can be, well, let me at least be curious. Let me be curious. Let me see how I can be helpful, supportive. Let me see how I can do anything other than to come to this conclusion that's going to paint this person in the wrong light. So let me work on my tribe. Sometimes it's I'm surrounding myself with people who don't necessarily have my best interest at heart. They just happen to be present. So very important. Who am I surrounding myself with? Who's my support network? Who's there that's helping me along the journey?
Mhm.
Who's my accountability? Girl, you went out 5 days last week. Let's talk. You're out of character. Let's have some conversation.
Yeah,
What's going
yeah.
on? Hey, what's going on? You know, I'm
I think
here.
that that's important, Sharon. That we look at that whole dynamic because one of the things that I have learned, and it's so when it God dropped it into my spirit to have this conversation. One of the things that he brought up is I remember going out to dinner with my oldest son, my brother's oldest son, my mother, my sister that's right over me, and
Mm-hmm.
me. So we're all out, and my nephew's wife. So we're all out and we're talking, and so we're remembering. We are remembering my brother, and we're talking about him, and so things kind of shift, and we start talking about my niece and my sister. I mean, tears just start rolling, and she was talking about how angry she was and how she wanted to fight because the circumstances around my niece's death really made her angry.
Yeah.
Because you know, I'm gonna say this: if you have an issue or an ought against a family member, fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us
Mm-hmm.
because you can decide I'm not going to speak to this person because of this, that, or the other, and then they're gone, and the grave can't take no apologies nor give none.
Mm.
And so we have to start letting those things go because in the whole scheme of things, it don't matter. At the
Right.
end of the day, it don't matter. Because once again, you operating from an expectation of what you expect them to behave when they're operating from another level of expectation because you haven't voiced your expectation of them and they haven't agreed to it.
Mm.
And so we have to begin to look at these things because I'm going to tell you, grief, if you don't deal with your grief will take you places you never thought you would go. I know people who have become drug addicts behind grief. I know people who have become alcoholics behind grief. I know people who ended up with a sex addiction behind grief. Folks end up gambling and getting a gambling addiction. All of these things just to fill an area when all they had to do was to deal with the grief.
Yeah, and I know that it's easier said than done
Yeah.
because I know that somebody's listening in and they're saying, "Oh, if it was only that simple." So when I find that this thing is overwhelming and it's outside of me, then I have to look at, okay, what can I tap into?
Mhm.
Sometimes I just need to tap into my faith and spirituality. Some people like I done that. Sometimes I need to go see a professional. So I'm adding on. So I'm tapping into my faith, my spirituality. I'm seeing a professional and making sure I get connected to the right person, right person, right team of people. So it's not giving up because when I give up, then I am going to resort to my own ways. And sometimes it's not going to be things that are helpful, it's going to be things that are detrimental, but I can't give up. I can't. That's why I need myself some accountability, some folks around me that I'm going to allow to speak into me rather than isolating. If I find myself isolating, it's probably because I don't want anybody speaking to what it is that I'm doing, I'm doing what I say I want to be doing, but oftentimes it's not necessarily what I want to be doing. It's this thing that is filling this void, it's filling this hole. And I might have gotten into the grips of some things that I can't necessarily navigate my own way out of. So I have to make sure that I've got some folks attached to me that aren't going to just let me go that way. And
Yes.
I also have to give them permission. But that's the one thing about it. Even if you have some things going on mentally, I was talking to some family members who have called. Hey, I've got this family member, they're going through this, and I want to help them, but I can't. And if this person isn't deemed to be at risk, of harming themselves, killing themselves, or someone else, oftentimes you can't necessarily intervene. This person being an adult, it makes it extremely hard to be in that position because you're watching this person whose health is probably deteriorating right before your eyes. Their actions are showing that they are harming themselves, in ways. But if it's not deemed, however it's said, as far as, you're going to kill yourself, harm yourself, you're imminent danger, then it's like, what am I supposed to do? So we have to realize that it may not be that this person doesn't care about me. It may be that they don't know how. And I may need to help them to help me. We got to do this thing together. Because if I'm saying, nope, don't come over here, I don't want to talk to you, I'm not letting you in. Then on the other side, it may be, well, you should have kicked my door in, you should have done this, and you should have done that. Oh gosh, it's very painful to watch and to hear the stories. But yeah, get some folks that you're going to allow to speak to you, that you're going to allow to be attached to you, to be accountability and support. Like I said, a team. Sometimes we try to put it on a person. Whew, how
That's a lot.
overwhelming.
That's heavy.
Yeah, and it's, why didn't this person do this? Because this person probably also had their own heavy load, and trying to carry all of your load, all of their load, all of the children's load, all of the cousins' load, it's like, so sometimes I may not just have a person, it may be that I've got to have a whole team that I'm allowing to be connected to me in this way so that I can get the help and support that I need. But putting it all on one person, that's a lot.
I think that that's important for us to begin to understand that, because let's face it, um, Yada makes a good point here. She says, but you have to be open minded enough to let someone in. That's where that permission that we were just talking about comes into play, because you have to give yourself permission to be where you are, and then you have to give yourself permission to allow other people to help you.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was raising my children, I had a very real issue that I did not realize until probably 5 years ago, that I never learned how to ask for help. I never learned how. And so when most people are like, well, all you had to do was ask for help. Well, guess what? I never learned how, so I can't do what I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
It was never okay for me to ask for help, because in my mind, it was a sign of weakness,
Yeah.
that I can't handle this myself. And it goes back to, I got to be strong. I got to carry everybody's stuff. I got to make sure that I'm seen in this certain light so that
Mm-hmm.
people won't think less of me. And
Mm-hmm.
and what it did is it began to tear me down instead of building me up. And without realizing it, I taught my daughter the same thing
Mm.
without realizing it.
That's good.
Because
And it,
I have recently had that conversation with her. A closed mouth don't get fed. I can't help if I don't know there's somewhere that help is needed.
mm-hmm.
And so we have to begin to say, okay, because let's face it, the Black community is not very trusting.
Yeah.
It is just now okay for us to go to counseling and admit it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And in some spaces, you bet not say you're going to counseling, because
It shows a lack of faith.
eh,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that.
Yeah. Because, yeah. And I've seen this quote, and I'm not going to get it all the way right, but it says it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist. And I was like, that's it. Absolutely. It's okay to have Jesus
Well,
and
I
a
say it
therapist.
like this:
Ah,
if Jesus is the great physician, and in the Word of God, He encourages us to heal thyself, then that means we got to learn how to do it.
mm-hmm.
And just like we have to learn who Jesus is through the Bible, we got to get some professionals to learn how to go through the process of healing ourselves. You
Good.
can't seek healing and not participate in the process
There you
and
go.
not learn the tips and the tools that you need to learn in order not to get yourself in that space again. So for me, therapists, counselors, doctors, any type of physician, they are an extension of God's healing powers.
It's good.
That's it.
Hmm. And I'm glad you shared that piece because I often have to have conversations with clients, even around medication. There's such a stigma. Yes, all day using this couch. Okay. Absolutely. When there's conversations around medication, so that's whether that's for our moods or whatever it is that we may be experiencing in which we may need some medication. It's okay if I was a diabetic, would it be okay for me to take that insulin? Is it okay for me to take my heart medicine and all these other things, cholesterol medication? We have to break the stigma because you have some people who would be able to manage much better with some medication, with some medication. And I was prescribed it, but I'm not going to take it. It's so heartbreaking.
Let me
It,
tell you, I went through a season of depression. And my depression manifested itself in itching.
mm,
And when I tell you, I would itch to the point where I just wanted to take my skin off so I can get up under there and scratch.
mm-hmm,
And my therapist, I don't know the name of, I can't remember the name of the medication, but it was a little bitty green pill, little
okay.
bitty green pill. And she said, I was like, I can't take that. She was like, Michelle, it'll help with your itching and it'll also balance out the chemicals that in your body that is creating the depression, the opportunity for you to be depressed. That's how she said it. I was like, it's going to deal with the itching. She was like, yeah. I said, okay, I'll take it if it's going to deal with the itching. And she just smiled at me because I had to make it make sense to me to give me permission to take the medication, even though I had webs literally all up and
Mm-hmm.
down my arms, my back, my legs from scratching because my depression was manifesting itself as physical.
Oh, absolutely.
And I never knew until I went through that was even a possibility. And I have to say, the little green pill took the itching away.
Yeah, it helped with that depression too.
And it helped with that there depression. I'm here to tell you because
Yeah.
things that I would normally, and it's so, I mean, this is funny, but I'm not trying to make light of anybody who's dealing with depression or grief or stress or
Yeah.
anything like that. But we were all together, my sister Robin, that's right over me, my mom, my oldest son, and some other family members. And you know how you just talk and you have memories and whatnot. And so somehow we got on the topic of sweet potato pie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like nothing sweet potato because I don't like the consistency. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, the, there's something about the consistency that makes me sick to my stomach. So my oldest son was to make a sweet potato pie for school
Mm-hmm.
because his teacher was saying something about her sweet potato pie, and he was like, "I'm gonna tell you, my auntie's sweet potato pie is better than your sweet potato pie." So he went over there to my sister's house, and they made the sweet potato pie. So evidently, I have no memory of this. I was told this story.
Mm-hmm.
I got angry, and I popped him upside his head for going over to my sister's house making a sweet potato pie.
Mm.
Number one, I don't know how to make a sweet potato pie. Don't want to know how to make a sweet potato pie because guess what? I don't eat them. I don't like them.
Mm.
So he was like, Mama, what was going on with you anyway? Why did you even get upset? You don't eat them. You don't cook them. Why did you get upset with me? I said, you asking me something that happened 25 years ago. And you really expect me to be able to give you an answer to that?
Mm.
I said, I don't know what frame of mind I was in at that point in time. I can't speak to where my mind was. But as I think about it now, that was the season that I was dealing with the depression.
Okay.
So anything could have been a trigger for me to get angry because that was the emotions that I was dealing with because of the depression. And I
Mm.
don't think a lot of us give ourselves permission to begin to look back. So I had to tell him I was sorry
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have any memory of what happened. And it's so funny because, I had a minor in college of psychology. And the first thing that came to mind was, Michelle, was you having a fugue state at that moment? Was you in the midst of a fugue state? And I was like, a little bit too much to make you a little dangerous for your own self. But it begins to set
Yeah.
you up to allow you to see why you did certain things when you did them because mentally you were not stable.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Oh, yeah. We touched on a whole lot there. But the fact that I do not recall this, but I had to apologize. Sometimes our children bring things to us, and it's I'm gonna hold on to this thing, and the one thing that they need is this apology. That maybe that one thing, but our pride gets in the way,
Oh, yeah.
and so the fact that I'm glad you spoke to that, and I apologized. I know my daughter used to always say, "Mama, you always saying you sorry." I said, "I guess I'm always messing up." As I find out, I mean, and that's what it was. I find myself, catch myself saying something, and I apologize. And I recall her saying that, and was so imperfect as a mother. But the thing is, when he brings that to your attention this many years later, that speaks to, that's still on his heart.
Yes.
Yeah, that's still on his heart. And the fact that I don't recall it, son, must be where I was at, my mental state, but I am sorry. So that's like, okay, I'm not crazy. That wasn't cool that my mama popped me for going to get some help, or whatever. So, oh goodness.
Yeah, and we have to look at it because we are not perfect. And if anybody tells you that they were a perfect parent, they lying. Because as I say quite often, there was not an instruction manual that popped out before each one of my kids to tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it at every phase and season of their life to know how to be the right kind of mother for them.
Yeah,
Because what I have learned is that I'm not the same mother to all of my children
right.
because I meet them where they are and provide them with what it is that they need. I cannot treat all of my children the exact same way because they are not replicas of each other.
Yeah, or of you.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and sometimes we parent our children and say that I'm going to give them what it is that I needed. And it may not be what this child needs. This child may need some different things, but I'm going to give you. So it's let me check in to see what this child needs. And that goes even for the grief as we're having these conversations. Sometimes it's, well, this person wasn't that important in this person's life, in my child's life, or, they're too young, but it's really checking in to see because it may be that, this was my favorite uncle or my favorite cousin. Mama, you didn't know it. Daddy don't know it, but we did have a connection and an attachment, and once a week, every other week, he came over, she came over, and we did these things, and now I have something that's missing, and it's, oh, you got little emotions, you don't know anything about that, and life just goes on. It's like, why isn't nobody checking in with me to see how I'm doing? Hey, is it?
You said that and it brought up a memory. My brother, the last probably 6, 7 months of his life is when we knew that, it was a downward spiral. So my daughter gave birth to my youngest grandson in the October before he passed.
Okay.
And she ended up having to have an emergency C-section because of some issues that was going on with the birth. And she gets out and my brother was probably one of the first people that called her, checking up on her. And she was like, Unc, why you calling me checking up on me? I need to be calling you checking up on you. He said, yeah, but I didn't just get cut wide open and have some alien snatched out of my body either. And so he was still being that uncle, that
Yeah.
surrogate father, making sure that his nieces and nephews were taken care of, that he, as long as there was breath in his body and he was able, he was still checking up on them. He was
Mhm.
still making sure that he was making a presence in their life, even as he knows he's transitioning out.
Mhm.
And so that's a memory that she'll take with her forever. You're, as you
Yeah.
said earlier on, you were talking about creating those new traditions. So
Mhm.
this is a memory for her that she can pass down to her son that never actually got an opportunity to meet my brother, but now he'll know that his great uncle really loved him enough to check up on him the first day of his life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I
Mhm.
think for us, we don't think about the importance of making sure that we make those contacts.
Yeah.
That we even if you can't reach out and touch somebody, you can reach out with a text, you can reach out with an email, you can reach out with a phone call. We have all of this electronics, we have
Yeah.
all of this online space, and we have those opportunities to be able to reach out and to say those funny things, or
Mhm.
to put a smile on somebody's face with a great affirmation, or just simply by saying I love you. Because I'm going to tell you, my kids helped me get through that first day of finding out that my brother was gone. Just
Mhm.
their presence, and we sat up and talked. We talked and we laughed and we did all of that. But I knew that they were there because they were concerned about me and that they loved me.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so it helps you navigate what that looks like. So I'm gonna flip up. We're gonna reset. So anyone that is watching, if you have questions, please put them in the comment section and put it as a post, and we'll make sure that they get asked live while we have our resident therapist Sharron Mason on our show tonight. Also, if you have comments, please put those in the comments. Those will go up as well. But I also want to make sure that people understand, although we're talking about grief, it's about any loss.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's the death that you've experienced, but it's any loss. We're talking about getting through depression through the holidays. We're
Yeah.
also talking about being stressed out and struggling during the holidays, because if you saw the trailer that I put up prior to this,
It's
you'll
nice.
see we touched on all of those things, because we have those parents out there that are struggling, trying to make
Mm.
sure that they get their kids all these gifts, going into debt
Mm.
so that their kids will be happy on Christmas morning with all of this stuff.
And they're gonna play with the box.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
part.
Well. Yeah. So I've got an A through Z on some things that folks can focus on. It's almost like tips and tools.
Okay.
So, kind of to see if somebody comes up with some questions, I want to go through some of those tips and tools. And even as I'm going through them, because like I said, A through Z, there's quite a few. If somebody's listening and then they've got some questions and want me to expound, please throw a comment in and you can just put what it is that I said, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So the A is align your life with your values. Align your life with your values. Sometimes as we're going through things, we're wondering, why am I struggling? Why am I so overwhelmed? And sometimes it's just a matter of I'm living somebody else's life. What I'm doing isn't even me doing what it is that I feel that I'm supposed to be doing. It's not aligned with my values. So one of them is, let me align my life with my values. Let me slow down long enough to decide, okay, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's feeding me? What's nourishing me? The next one, and we hear it quite a bit, that B is breathe. It's like, I am breathing. No, let me slow down and take myself some deep, long breaths and be intentional. Oftentimes, those are those shallow breaths that we're taking when we need to actually breathe. We're not even
Right.
getting enough oxygen to our brains. So breathe. I talked about grace a little bit, but another B is bathe yourself in grace.
Mm-hmm.
Bathe yourself in grace, because I'm not going to get everything perfect. You know, if I'm grieving, chances are my memory probably isn't. I'm not able to recall everything. Oh, I didn't remember such and such's birthday. I'm not in that space to be able to do everything that I would be able to do if I was at my optimum self. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. And so expecting myself to be, that's an unrealistic expectation. So bathe yourself in grace. I talked about create new traditions. That was a C. I say dream to tap into hope. Sometimes we stop
Yeah.
dreaming. Sometimes we lost our dreams with the passing of this loved one, or even the passing of our health. It could be the passing of our health, even the loss of health. So we need to allow ourselves to have some new dreams so I can tap into hope. Because when I'm at a state of being hopeless, that's extremely concerning to me when we lose our hope. So allow myself to have some new dreams.
Okay, let me jump in there because you made a good point there. So you know that we just had the in Kentucky they had the tornadoes
Oh God.
and the devastation. I think they said it was like 64 people that ended up losing their lives in that um in that tornado in that storm that came through there.
Mm-hmm.
So dealing with knowing that I lost everything unexpectedly. It wasn't because I didn't pay my bills. It wasn't because I was unprepared for what happened. It wasn't by any fault of my own. It was simply an act of nature. But now I'm homeless. I have no car. All of my belongings are destroyed. And I identified myself. My identity was wrapped up in the stuff that I had.
Okay.
How am I going to get through this holiday season when I have to rely on the Red Cross until my insurance kicks in?
Whew. I mean, to say that it's not going to be difficult, I would not. I would not speak that. So to realize that it is going to be a struggle, it's going to be extremely difficult, and allow myself to grieve the loss of all those things, and then I have to do just some deeper work and realize that that's not where my worth was tied up in. But that's some levels. I mean, that's not the top level. I'm not initially trying to necessarily say that that's not what my worth was in.
Mhm.
I'm going to allow myself to speak to the loss of all these things. It may be that um, I saved up all my money and I did all these things. I sacrificed and I worked. And goodness, I put so much into these things and now these things are gone. I don't know, when I'm going to be able to have my own roof over my head. So
Mhm.
give myself that room, and then I can start looking at, okay, where can I find my value and my purpose, because I can't necessarily tie it up into these things. Maybe that now I have to find new purpose. The other piece, and I was going to get to it, is the gratitude, but I didn't even put that at the top. Allow myself to feel my emotions rather than saying, well, you should be grateful. The nerve of you be grateful right now, as you just lost everything. Give me some space so that I can process what it is that I've experienced. And at some point, we are going to have that conversation about gratitude, but that's not that top layer. And sometimes we don't allow people to be where they're at, to experience where they are. And we're telling them, oh, you didn't lose your life. Some people are saying, well, I wish I had have lost my life. And that's unfortunate. So how can I help a person as they're in this place of, I'm feeling a whole lot of stuff, some things I may want to verbalize and some things that I may not want to verbalize. And so, yeah, allowing a person to be where they're at. But then, like I said, getting to that place of gratitude as well, and to find, if this is where I thought my purpose was, now I may have to find new purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead with your list. That just popped up while you were talking.
Oh, got you. I said eat well, or just maybe eat, because sometimes when I'm grieving,
We
I
don't
may
eat.
forget. Now, see, that's not my story, and I never understood. I mean, I work with quite a few people, and that's their story. I can have strep throat. I can have the flu. I don't care what I have. My appetite goes nowhere. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I may have to remind myself to eat. I've told clients, set yourself a timer, set yourself a timer, or set your alarm so that it tells you. Because I may not be at a place where I can think about these things that normally I could. I know that I feel, but it may be that I'm not feeling hunger pains. Now I know that it's been 2 days and I haven't had a meal. So let's set your clock so that we know that this time and this time I need to eat, or I have a friend that's going to invite me over. I'm going to having to figure it out, but I have to eat. I mean, that's one of those things that I can't work through days and days of no food within my body.
Okay, well, you say that, but you have those individuals. Now, I've even experienced this myself.
Uh-huh.
You're so stressed out that you are eating, but you're still losing weight just like mad crazy. You're still losing weight because the stress is doing whatever it's doing to your body, and you're constantly dropping weight even though you're eating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of it is now I got to work, of course, on the mental and emotional part, and I may also need to, of course, go see my physical doctor as well. So I probably have to pull my team together. And now, next thing you know, they've got you having your meals and having insure. So there's different things that can take place because, like you said, if I'm just dropping weight, but I actually am eating, then that's something that has to be addressed. Absolutely. So I got to pull my team together and all right, what is it that we're needing to do? Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, I gotta eat. The next one is faith, but lean on my faith. So let me lean on my faith. So I need to, well, in my word, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm praising, those things that help me to get through. Let me lean on my faith, whatever it is that I find to be helpful. The next one was gratitude. I kind of spoke to that, but practice gratitude. Um, the H was honor traditions, and we've already,
Hmm.
and I say that still serve me because there are some traditions that this person has passed on and I actually don't want to. If I really look at it, that thing really didn't serve me. Um, but it may be that these do. These are still ones that I find still serve me. So I can honor traditions. The I is inside, focus on the inside. So
Hmm.
focus on what's going on inside of me. What's going on with my heart, what's going on with my mind, my thoughts, so that I can be mindful. Okay, these things I'm dwelling on, and let me see how I can not allow myself to go down this rabbit hole. So let me focus on the inside. Just do it. Sometimes we overthink things, and if I think about it too long, I'm not going to do it. So
Hmm.
sometimes I just do it. That's the J. Just do it. Don't overthink things if possible. Sometimes easier said than done, but just do it. The K is keep your eye on forward movement. Although setbacks will and may happen, but let me keep my eyes on forward movement. And it may not be that I'm making 5 steps, 6 steps. I may have made a quarter of a step. Okay, let me focus on forward moving and just be aware that I'm going to have some movement, but I may have some setbacks as well. Laugh. I had to put laugh. So that's my thing. I love to laugh. And sometimes I'm laughing and I'm thinking, Shar'ron, that was so not appropriate. But however, whenever I can, I'm laughing, and I'm going to try to be mindful. I'm not going to be hurting folks' feelings and all that kind of stuff. But I find that I love laughing, laughing at my own silly jokes, laughing at myself. And, like I said, laugh. Sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to laugh because somebody's told me that I'm supposed to be in this sad and solemn state. You know, your face needs to be fixed like this for oh so long. No, if I want to laugh, I'm laughing. You can't dictate how it is that I'm going to go through my process. So I'm gonna laugh when possible.
I was taught a long time ago. I want to say it may have been my mom that said this to me. And she said, "Do you know you use more muscles to frown than you do to smile?"
Right.
And I was like, "No, you don't." And she said, "You are a smart person. Look it up. It's a written fact." So me, being the smart aleck that I am, I'm going to go and look it up, and it was there. And it even goes further to say that every time that you smile, it kicks off dopamine in your brain and you automatically feel better about yourself. Whatever it is that you're dealing with doesn't seem so devastating and so dire because you now have that chemical that makes you feel good that is kicking off in the brain to give you some perspective. And
That's
so
good.
sometimes, and there are times when I'm dealing with my granddaughter and I'll tell her just stop and smile, just slow down, smile. And she'll look at me like she didn't really lost her mind.
Hmm.
It's gone. It's over. But we have to sometimes do those small little things that are going to help get us over the hump, that is going to get us to the next space so that we can remain healthy because too many people are leaving here by their
Hmm.
own hand.
Yeah. Hmm. Goodness. Young people, old people, everywhere in between. Absolutely. So yes, laugh, smile. But like I said, I'm really speaking to being within the moment. You know, if in this moment, let me allow myself to be in this space. Absolutely. I can tend to all these emotions, but I'm gonna laugh. Personally, I'm gonna laugh.
Yep.
The M is move your body, move your body, move your body, move your body. So I'm not going to just sit in one place. I'm going to make myself get up and get some movement, get some movement. I'm going to get myself a little bit of exercise. It may not be what I normally would get, but I am going to move my body. I'm going to move my body because, like you said, with those feel good chemicals, I'm going to take what I can get. Let me
Hunty.
let me move my body. The N is no. Learn to use the word no, guilt free, and it goes back
That's
to
hard,
Ghana.
Shar'ron.
It was
Well, it's not hard for me anymore.
okay.
Okay, but
That's what I'm speaking to. But it was. I mean, and so like you're saying, not anymore. And no, I can use the word no, and I can use it guilt free. I can use it guilt free. And no, it's a complete sentence. I can't do that. I don't have to take that on. I find that sometimes others may want you to take this on because that frees them up.
hmm
Like
hmm
Fridays, like tomorrow, Friday, that's my off day, which, I mean, I'm doing stuff, but that's not a day in which I see clients. So some people might find that because you got Fridays off, I can put stuff on your Friday plate. No,
oh
you
no no
can't.
no, Mm-mm.
No,
No
no,
no.
that's not what that was for. However, there are times that, but I get to choose. I get to choose when I'm going to take on some additional things and when not. So no, you're not going to guilt me into it because in that case, I can see clients on Friday, and get, okay. Uh, let's see. The next one is outdoors, and I just put go in front of it. So go outdoors, go get some. And I don't even know if I want to call it fresh air. Get some air. I got out there and it messed my sinuses up. you know, go out and get some air. Sometimes it could just be let me stand on my porch. Let me stand on my porch, and I know that it's a little bit chilly out, but I might stand out and have me some tea or some hot cocoa just to get out and get some natural sunlight. So let me go outdoors. Gonna allow myself to
Look,
sit in
y'all,
it.
don't let Sharon fool you. Sharon got a whole deck in her backyard that she can go and sit out and enjoy.
Oh God. Anyway, I'm just saying, whether you got a deck or not, get outside and get yourself some air. I'm gonna take fresh off of it. Get yourself some air. Get yourself some direct sunlight.
But that's a good point because even in with me, with us being remote and I'm working remote, sometimes I don't go out the house for 3, 4, 5 days because everything that I need to do is here. Whereas every day when I had to go into the office, I was going into the office. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have found myself to where I will force myself to leave the house for simple stuff. Not that I really have to, but
Mm-hmm.
just to get out of the confines of my home and get that fresh air
Yeah.
and to be out of this environment because people will isolate and
Mm-hmm.
isolation all the time. Now sometimes isolation is good. So when I'm
Yeah.
writing and stuff like that, I'm
Yeah.
in isolation. But to just isolate myself because I don't want to be around people, That's not good because we were made to interact with each other. We were
Yeah.
made to fellowship with one another.
Oh yeah, we're social beings. Yeah, for the most part, we're social beings, and we need to have some of that. And the other thing about if I'm in my space alone, I'm stuck with only my thoughts, and these things can be so convincing. And it can have you thinking that something's the truth that isn't the truth. So sometimes I need some outside influence. So let me get myself out and allow myself to get out and get irritated. Because when I'm in for a while, I get out. Nothing's moving the way that I'm needing it to move. Traffic's not moving. Folks in line, or but sometimes I need that irritation because it's like, how long have I been in? What happened to my patience? The more days I'm in, the less patience I have when I get out. So just to be able to have that balance and get myself out.
Look, I'll go over to my daughter's house and I will go over there and hang out with her and my grandkids for a little bit. And it normally lasts for maybe 90 minutes. And then I'm like, oh, y'all have overstimulated me. I need to go home. Because,
Okay.
I live, singularly. And
Yeah.
so, with that being the case, when I do go out and do various other things, because by no means was my house quiet when I was raising my kids.
Mm-hmm.
By no means. There was always somebody else's child in my house, if not a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
But my youngest is 25.
Okay.
Okay. So I haven't had anybody in my house for a while other than just me.
Mm-hmm.
And so going to be around a 1 year old, a 9 year old, a 15, and a 17-year old, after about 90 minutes, I'm done. I'm going home because y'all have overstimulated me.
Yeah, you
I've
tapped
gotten
out.
my fill. I'm good. I got keys. I'm out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Granny's tapping out. Yeah. She's
Yeah,
tapping
I
out.
have
She's
to
tapping
tap
out.
out. I'm here to tell you, got to do some tapping out because you're not used to it. The one thing about this pandemic that it has created is it has created a vacuum in which we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that we used to take for granted as everyday occurrences, now those things are heightened for us because we haven't been out experiencing those on a regular like we were before.
Mm-hmm.
And even to the point where they're making comments in the news. Don't get in arguments with folks over road rage
Yeah.
because you don't know if the other person is packing or not. You
Yeah.
don't know if they're mentally stable or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people start making those type of comments on the news and in other places, it's because the world has become a little bit more difficult to deal with. However, it's because of the isolation that we have been experiencing, and we are losing our socialization. We're losing those social skills that we took for granted for so long.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. And then the other thing is when we see certain things for a certain amount of time, we believe that now this is the norm. And so that tells me that it's okay because it's been happening. You see it in the news. It's been happening. It's been happening. So it's okay for me to run you off the road because that's a normal thing now, right? And it's like, no, that's not normal. And so we start to internalize certain things as being normal that are truly abnormal. And it's not okay. Yeah, I just took that parking spot. You were waiting on that too. My bad. Oh, okay. Now there's this aggression and things taking place. So we have to be mindful of what we're normalizing because some of this stuff is not normal. It's a parking spot. No, I was just changing lanes. No, it didn't warrant all of that. But you just kind of spoke to it. And Yana was speaking too. Yeah, she gets in the car to calm herself, calm her mind. And you said it happens to be from state to state. Oh, yes, get in the car. You got some people that I don't necessarily want to get out and be around people to that extent due to the pandemic. But get in the car, take yourself a ride, and it doesn't have to be a long ride. You can take a ride and then just sit somewhere else, make sure, you're safe and all those things. But jump in that car. Yeah, jump in that car. Go pick yourself up a treat or something. Go on
Hmm.
back in. Let's see. Where did I leave off at? Oh, I said play.
Yep.
Yep. P is play. Have some fun. We're so serious these days. Even though I think I'm probably the oldest kid I know, but Yeah, summertime, I'm doing relay races and stuff with my grandkids. I know I'm quite a bit older than y'all, but we're going to see if you're going to win, right? But play, have some fun. We get so serious. We take ourselves too serious. We take everybody else too serious. And just realize, let your hair down and have some fun. Have some fun. Allow yourself to have some fun. Like I said, allow yourself to have some fun. That cue was quiet your mind. You can quiet your mind through some meditation. Quiet your mind, or just sit. Quiet your mind, and just not be doing. We don't have to fill up all the space. I just got a few more. Let me run through them. You can do some reading. So it may be that I'm reading because I want to learn something new, or it can be just for pleasure. You got two authors here. Which of these books y'all want?
I'm saying I got about four of them on my shelf that's available. One of them's even in an audio book. Just shameless plug there. Shameless plug.
That's your show. So here's the thing: get yourself some books. Get yourself some books. We're gonna fill up that bookshelf and fill up your nightstand and everything, your coffee table. But that's to learn for pleasure or whatever the case may be. Now for the S, I've got a couple of things. Get yourself some sleep. Some people say
Oh
that's
man.
get yourself some sleep. Get yourself some sleep. You cannot function for an extended period of time on lack of sleep. So when I'm checking in with clients, we're going to talk about your sleep habits. We're going to talk about your sleep hygiene, and we're probably going to talk about you doing a brain dump and all that good stuff before you go to bed. So if I have things running through my mind, I may need to get my notebook to the side of bed. I may need to dump everything out and let myself know that I can pick this up tomorrow, so that I don't have to have all this stuff running through my mind. So it's different things that I can practice in order to be able to get myself some sleep. I may have to get myself a weighted blanket, sound machine. We got all that kind of stuff around this spot. It's what do I need that's going to allow me to get myself some good rest. Mostly starting with the sleep hygiene. I'm not going to have my electronics in the bed with me while I'm trying to go to sleep. That's stimulating. I'm trying to go to sleep, remember? Um, the other S, we talked about boundaries. Well, do we? Set and enforce healthy boundaries. Extremely important. I need to set and enforce healthy boundaries. Some people will not appreciate that because the boundaries you had was allowing me to do what it is that I wanted to do and operate how I wanted to. But I need to set and enforce healthy boundaries. That T is turn off social media. I find myself having to pull away. And part of it from time to time is because there is so much grief and loss, even. Sometimes I need to step away from it because it's a lot. And it may not just be the loss that's taking place within, my family and my circle. Once I'm on social media, I'm taking all of that in, and it can be overwhelming. So give yourself permission to step away and make sure that you're tending to yourself. And then, of course, you can pick it back up, but step away from that social media. That you is use your resources and reach out for help. Use your resources. Sometimes we have more resources than we realize, but let me use my resources. Let me reach out for help. That V is voice your needs, wants, likes, dislikes. Yeah, let me give myself a voice so I don't have to act like I like this when I don't like this, but give myself voice. And so that's speaking to life. Sometimes if a person is no longer voicing their wants, their needs, it's concerning because you're stepping away from life. If I'm living, I'm voicing my needs, my wants, my likes, my dislikes, and all that. That W is wear comfy clothes. Now I might have gotten too comfortable. We on this here thing here. I mean, I got a shirt on, and I even got bottoms on, but it don't mean they matching. Michelle, don't laugh at me. It don't mean they're matching, but I
Woo,
bet the
she
bottoms is
said,
comfy. I bet the bottoms is comfy, and
I
I got my
even
comfy
got
socks on.
bottoms on, y'all. You don't know how many people will only have a shirt on and have on underwear or boxers or something like that because they don't think anybody's going to be able to see below their waist. That is funny.
Yeah, and I'm dressed. I am dressed. I am dressed. Clients, when I see you guys, I'm dressed. It does not mean I'm matching, but I'm dressed. I am dressed. I am dressed because sometimes I do have to get up and make sure, the door is closed and stuff. And that would be horrible. I would not want to see my therapist in anything other than fully clothed. Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, but like I said, I'm going to keep some comfortable socks on even. I like stuff that, I mean, it's got to be soft and comfy. It's certain things that we can control. So making sure that, oh, yeah, I'm going to be comfortable as far as what I have on. I'm not going to be sitting here with clothes cutting off my circulation and stuff. No wonder I got a grimace on my face. I'm uncomfortable and my circulation's getting cut off. So wear some comfy clothes. I threw an E in front of this, but it's expect positive change. So it's, expect. Yeah, so let me have that expectation that I'm not going to stay where I'm at. And it can be easier said than done. But realizing this is a part of the process and I might be at my lowest low right now, but expect that there is going to be some movement in a positive direction. And the last one is Z. I said Zoom if needed to connect.
Oh,
Sometimes
there
I,
you go.
yeah, sometimes I can't get out, but I can do some zooming. I can do some zooming and I can connect. And folks are getting so creative with Zoom. It's like they having practical game nights and all kinds of stuff,
Hmm.
doing charades. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. So you got people who are sharing meals via Zoom. You're having your meal, I'm having my meal, or they're even taking their computers and stuff into the kitchen. They're cooking together. You've got people who are being extremely creative when they're not able to get together and connect. Use this thing, use these tools because I mean that's what they're here for. It doesn't have to be about any negative stuff, but allowing yourself to connect and still be amongst the people that you know and love and care about.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to seriously look at is that you have to be willing to participate in order to use the ABCs you just gave us. You have to step into that realm and to be able to utilize those things because those are some great tips and tools for us to step into. But the one of the things that I was told when I was in therapy, it's only as effective as your willingness is to do the work.
That's it. That's it.
Simple.
That's it.
It's
And it's
only
not.
going to be that effective. If you choose not to do the work, then it won't be effective.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's the same thing with our grief. It's the same thing with the depression. It's the same thing when we're stressing out and we're struggling.
Hmm.
All of that until we're ready to say, okay, I'm going to show up positively, intentionally, and authentically in my own life. Because sometimes we have to tell ourselves the truth before we can tell anybody else the truth. We
Hmm.
have to be honest and transparent with ourselves about where we are so that
Yeah.
we can then step into that space. And it's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy. I'm talking from experience. I'm not talking about nobody told me because I shared earlier when I was raising my kids, I did not know how to ask for help. I did
That's
not.
good.
Nobody ever taught me how to ask for help.
That's good.
I was always told what the expectations were
Hmm.
and that I had to live up to these expectations. However, it wasn't until I was in my 40s
Hmm.
that I began to even recognize that lack in my life and began working on that area. And at the same time, I learned the power of the N and the O.
Yeah. So, and even as you spoke about kind of that knowing to ask for help, it's the willingness to be vulnerable. And some people just are not willing to be vulnerable.
Well, we're not taught how to be vulnerable. Just back to what you were talking about before. Little girls are taught to be nurturing and to be of service.
Hmm.
We are not taught because I know when I was growing up, I have two older sisters,
Hmm.
and look, they thought cooking was a competition. I chose not to participate in the competition. And so when I would go in, the cooking was done and I'm cleaning up everybody's mess and getting the kitchen back in order and doing all of that. But one of the things that I think that we have to begin to realize is that it doesn't matter how you were raised. You have the right to change any behavior, thought process, or idea in which you live your life by, that thereby it becomes your truth. You can change it at any time.
Yeah. It goes back to that A, align your life with your values. And so these things may have been handed down to me, but that doesn't mean that's what I have to take forth. So align my life with my values and what's important to me. Absolutely.
Yana said her mom had a nervous breakdown. They never knew she was sick because she just kept doing. Because that's what is expected of the women within our community. You
Yeah. Keep
just
going.
keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. And that's the thing. Keep going. Keep going. So I can speak as a therapist. The thing is, you're supposed to see X number of clients. You're supposed to see clients 5 days out of a week, if not 6 or 7. I'm not seeing that X number of clients, and I'm not seeing them no 6, 7 days a week. I'm gonna give you a good 4, and I'm gonna need them other 3 days. Now, chances are I have some other things that's going on, but I have to realize that for my mental, I have to align my life with my values, and I value Sharron. Therefore, I try to lean towards those 3 days weekends. Holiday season, you're probably not going to get that because you're out, you're vending, but you get to decide what that looks like. And there's going to be people that, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? It's okay for you to have questions and all those things, but meanwhile, when the final decision is made, this is what this thing is going to look like. But oftentimes we're trying to live up to someone else's expectations when we're the ones who have to live this life. So you decide what works for me, and okay, I'm going to live with the consequences of whatever this choice is. But there is no way I'm going to be burning myself out. I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to be stressed. Now you're sitting across from your therapist, and she looking like she need 4 sessions. It's
Oh, no,
like
no.
it's like it's like for my session, I want you to go make sure you spend this time in your session. And therapists absolutely should have therapists as well. No, that's big deal stuff. But meanwhile, if you're trying to share with me all these ways in which I should be coping, all these things I need to be doing to be having, the best health, mental, emotional, in all ways. However, you ran down, you're haggard, you're about to fall asleep on me. Uh, what's going on? No. So it starts with self and making sure that you're okay, that you're checking in with yourself. Am I okay? Not giving yourself that pat answer of I'm okay. No, am I really okay? No, actually I'm not. Actually
Okay.
I'm not. Hmm.
Yana had another comment. She said, so you don't know how to get through stuff. And you asking yourself, why are my emotions everywhere? Then you get married to try to fix that problem.
Yana, we're gonna be here for another 6 months. Oh gosh, so now we have two imperfect people trying to fix one another.
It doesn't
Oh
work.
goodness, oh goodness. Yeah, I've got some clients that will come, and it may even be for marriage therapy, and sometimes that conversation is that there's some individual work that's needing to take place. So we may need to do the marriage therapy. However, some individual work that's also needed. Sometimes we can do some of that work within our couple sessions, but I'm definitely telling folks that yeah, this is some individual work. And some people, of course, don't want to hear that because I want you to fix my spouse. I want you to fix him. I want you to fix her. I want you. It's like, actually, let's really look at this. Let's look at what this looks like. And I had posted something not that long ago, but I said that some people find partners to heal their past, and some people find partners to kind of relive their past. So it can present an opportunity, but it's am I realizing that I've got some things that I came into this with that I'm needing to work on. And we've always got things to work on. When I say that I no longer have things to work on, that's that ding ding ding, that sign that come on, how did you reach perfection? What's that thing all about? And so absolutely, kind of like you said, finding a relationship to try to help me to heal this thing, to fix this thing. Whereas no, now I've got my stuff, your stuff, and then all these other pieces that we've brought together now that can further complicate it.
Right.
Ooh, Yana.
Sharon, I just say thank you. I mean, we didn't talk the gamut tonight. So
Yeah.
if anybody didn't get their questions in, you can still put them up. We will monitor it and be able to answer any questions. Even if you have questions during the replay, you can still put them in,
Yeah.
and we will make sure that they get answered. But we have had an awesome conversation. Yana,
Yeah.
You need to set up a session with therapist Shar'ron because y'all need to talk. She said, see, that's why she needs to set up a session with you, Shar'ron.
Yeah, that's so not it. Yeah, there's no perfection on this end. And yeah, give you the whole gamut of how that's not the case. Introduce you to my entire family so they can tell you how Sharron is so not perfect, and then my friends too that would probably even give you a better view. No perfection on this end.
And none over here either. I'm here to tell you,
That,
because we all go through stuff. And that's the thing. It's not one of the things that I have learned, if I haven't learned anything else. She said she was repeating a quote.
oh,
One of the things that I have learned, if I haven't learned anything else, is that I am the captain of this vessel called Michelle.
mm-hmm.
I make the decisions of what influences, what comes out of my mouth, what I allow in my personal space. I determine that. So if I have the power to determine all of that, then I also have the power to recognize when I need help and to seek it. I
Mm-hmm.
can't blame anybody else because I'm the way that I am. Because somewhere along the line, I made the choice to be this way, whether I said it out loud or whether I did it subconsciously. I made that choice. And so, when we come to that realization, now we have to give ourselves permission to make a different choice, and one that is going to be better for us, that is going to allow us to heal and then to step into our authentic self. Because people are watching. They are watching you just like they are watching me. And sometimes your willingness to live your life, your truth, and your purpose out loud and in living color gives them permission to do the exact same thing.
That's good.
And you may never say a word to them. You may never interact with them personally, but they are watching how you have overcome the things that have happened in your life that are meant to take you out, and you still going. My mother told me this a long time ago. And when she first told me, I just kind of looked at her like she was crazy because I was like, what is she talking about? But it's difficult to hit a moving target. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly doing what you need to do to take care of you and to live your purpose, then it'll be real hard for anybody else to get in there and mess up what you're doing.
Mm. Whew. Your mama speaking some truth, huh?
Girl,
What do you
I
say?
told you, she's a wise old lady. She's a wise old lady.
What do you say? Stay in your own lane. Do your thing. Don't be
That's
all
it.
consumed. Yeah, yeah. Don't be
And
all
then the
consumed.
last bit, and then I'm going to let you close out. The last thing that I want to say, what somebody else thinks about you is none of your business. Don't make it your business. Don't take it on as a part of who you are. None of that. It's
Good.
none of your business. If you want people to see you in a certain light, then you start being the change that you want to see. Be that person, and then what everybody else has to say, it don't matter, because all it is noise. Back in the day, Sharron, when we had the other TVs and it wasn't on the right channel, you would get all that white noise.
Mm-hmm.
That white noise has a purpose in our lives, and sometimes it's meant to get our attention, and sometimes it's meant to help us navigate. Because my daughter had colic really bad as a baby, and
Mm.
the only thing that would put that child to sleep is white noise.
Hey, I saw that on a movie. That's good. That's some truth to it. That's good. That's good. I appreciate that. But something you just spoke to, and I'll use this as I'm going towards my closing, is that whole piece about being worried about what other people think. When I decided that I'm not worried, consumed about what other people think, then I've been able to step outside the box in some things. And it's okay, now I can create the life that I want. Me and God, we co creating this thing. But as long as I'm concerned about what any and everybody else think, and why is she doing this, and why is she then I'm going to have the wrong motive that's moving me, and I don't want that. So I know everybody don't necessarily like me, don't necessarily care for me. I don't even care. I mean, and so when we get wrapped up in, who likes me, who don't like me, who's click on me, and what, I mean, I don't get that. I don't get it. And so my thing is, let me stay in my own lane. Let me be concerned about my mental and emotional health, spiritual. Let me be physical. Let me be concerned about those things. And that takes up enough of my time.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it takes up enough of my time. And so it's okay. Let me check in with myself. And this is what I would say to your viewing audience: make sure that you're regularly checking in with yourself. I know that we've encountered people along the way that have let us down, and it can be so disappointing. But could you imagine you have an opportunity to give yourself a different experience? But sometimes we ain't showing up for ourselves, but we're upset about who didn't show up for us in this way. You're not showing up for yourself. So let me show up for myself. And then what everybody else pours into me, that's overflow. But I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. I'm going to make sure that I reach out and get help when I need it. And like I said, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to find something to laugh about. I'm going to, if I need to cry, I'm going to cry. Whatever it is that I'm needing, I'm going to give myself permission to do that and just live the life that I want. You know, I'm co-creating this thing. And like I said, I know that it can be hard. A lot of folks are struggling every day, but make sure that you're showing up for yourself. Make sure. And I can send you that A to Z just in case you want to post it as well, Michelle, in
Okay.
case some folks that, if they want to catch it. Well, I guess if they were watching, they could, but somebody might not want to be taking all them notes. But yeah, I can send that because when
Okay.
I was going through that, yeah, I did that on my Nordic track this morning. I had my phone and I was A to Z and I was eight. Yeah, so those are things that resonated with me, and then I hope they resonate with your viewing audience as well.
Yana said, yeah, she need that.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Yep. So I'm going to send that to Michelle so she can post it back on this page.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, Sharron, how can they get in touch with you?
I would say send me an email to lovethatrelationship@gmail.com. Lovethatrelationship@gmail.com. Sometimes we might find that we're not necessarily meant to connect as far as therapist client situation, but I try to help people to get connected when that is not the case, because there are lots of amazing therapists out here, and it's let's get you in to see somebody that is going to be able to help you with your work. So love that relationship at gmail.com.
And I want to say this too. I remember calling Sharon about a family member that needed to be seen. They were struggling. This I want to say it was early on during the pandemic.
It was.
They were struggling. And she said, well, Michelle, I'm going to refer you out to someone else because I know you. And see, that's the thing that impressed me because sometimes people don't have the integrity to say, I'm going to refer you out because I know you and your family. So
Yeah.
I don't want to put myself in a position that might be compromising because I know you and your family. And so let me refer them out. Find a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist that works for you because you
Mm-hmm.
are paying them for a service to help you. Find one that meets your needs. Don't just
Yeah.
pick one just for the sake of picking one because every therapist is not for every patient.
Right.
Okay? And also understand your cultural biases. If you meet somebody and you think that they're an excellent therapist, but when you start seeing them, they do not understand your cultural issues or the things that in your community to be able to advise you correctly, then thank them for their service and find one that is more culturally aware.
It's good.
Understand that because you are that important. So make yourself the priority in that relationship so that you can get what it is that you need. So, Sharon, thank you so very much for
You're
coming on.
welcome.
We literally have been on here for almost 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, we have. We
Yeah, we have.
have. But Yeah, but much needed, much needed. Oh
Much needed
gosh.
conversation. Thank you to our listening and our viewing audience for your input. Like we said, if you have more questions, put them in the comments. We'll be sure to answer any questions that you may have. And also remember that just because you are with family or not with family this holiday season, as long as you have all that you need. Get to know the person looking back at you in the mirror. Learn how to love him or her, and then everything else is just gravy because you've got all of the important ingredients there. So do what you need to do in order to make sure there's a healthy version of you coming through the holiday season and
Mhm.
that you are better because of the experience. So this is your girl Michelle with our resident therapist Sharron saying happy holidays to you. We wish you the very best from the Girls Talk Real Talk podcast, from Sharon and her family, me and my family. We wish you the greatest of happiness during this holiday season. And if you are grieving, you're stressing, you're dealing with depression, you're struggling, whatever the case may be, remember, all you have to do is look up and ask for some help, and somebody will be there to help you. So we'll talk to you later. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Bye bye.